Mark returns home from an espionage mission to find his wife, Anna, demanding a divorce. He starts following her to uncover the truth, but speculations of infidelity lead to something more menacing instead. On a cold, gray day, Mark, a spy for West Berlin, comes home to find his wife, Anna, wanting a divorce. Mark is startled by her sudden decision and tries to reason with her, as she still wavers with the decision. As they lay in bed, Mark asks if she is cheating on him, but Anna insists there is no other party involved. He explains that what's happening to them is natural, as feelings constantly change. Mark then suggests they make love, but Anna rejects him. The following day, Mark meets with his superiors to divulge the details of his espionage mission. He is an excellent and capable spy, and they want to rehire him, but he refuses because he wants to spend more time with his family. They offer to help him with his marital problems, but he declines. They pay him for his service and he leaves the premises with a suitcase full of money. Mark returns home, but sees that his family has already left. Despondent, he stares out the window where two soldiers watch him from the East Berlin Wall. Hours later, Anna calls to tell him she had to leave and needed time to think. He tries to bargain with her, but she drops the call, leaving Mark frustrated. He then rummages through their apartment and finds a postcard from a man named Heinrich addressed to Anna. Moments later, Mark calls Margie, Anna's best friend, who confirms that Anna has been cheating on him for years. He begs her to help him, but Margie refuses and hangs up on him. He tries to call her back, but is unable to reach her. Seconds later, the phone rings again, and it's Anna on the other line. She tells him their marriage is over, and they argue about her infidelity. He then asks her to meet him at a cafe to discuss custody over their child and apartment. Hours later, they meet and take a seat at opposite tables. Mark decides to give up custody of their son because he does not want him to be traumatized by their divorce. His statement angers her, and they have a heated argument with Anna expressing regret for having Bob with them. Enraged, Mark chases her around the cafe and tries to hurt her, but the staff stops him. Mark becomes depressed and goes on a drinking spree for weeks. Sometime later, he recovers and decides to visit Bob in their apartment. To his shock, he discovers his son alone and neglected and finds the place a mess, as Anna never returned for him. Hours later, a disheveled and weary Anna returns to the apartment. She tries to explain, but Mark doesn't want to hear her excuses and refuses to leave Bob with her. He orders her to break up with Heinrich immediately, so they can be a family again. Anna tries to fight him, but she breaks down and cries. Mark then puts her to bed so she can rest. Mark discovers her empty bed at midnight, and Heinrich calls to tell him that Anna is with him. Mark then finds a note from her saying she left to talk to Margie. He immediately calls Margie and asks for Anna's location. However, she doesn't know, so Mark asks for Heinrich's number instead. He phones Heinrich, only for Heinrich's mother to answer and tell him that she hasn't seen Anna for weeks. The following day, Mark takes Bob to school and meets a teacher named Helen who eerily resembles Anna. Later, Mark goes to Heinrich's apartment and confronts him about the affair. An eccentric Heinrich tells him he didn't call last night as he was in Hamburg, but Mark doesn't believe him. They argue, escalating into a fistfight where Heinrich beats Mark handily. Mark returns to his apartment and finds Anna with Bob. Mark confronts her for lying to him about her whereabouts last night, saying he spoke to Margie and Heinrich. Anna becomes furious about his constant nagging and tells him he disgusts her. They have a screaming match, and in her fury, Anna slaps him. Mark then taunts her to do it again, but she laughs instead. She attempts to flee, but Mark stops her and beats her up. Anna then runs away and Mark follows her outside. With a crazed look in her eyes, Anna walks away. Later in the day, Margie arrives to look after Bob, and she cleans Mark up. Mark then meets with a private investigator named Mr. Zimmerman and hires him to follow Anna. Afterward, he goes back home to find his son and Margie asleep. The following day, he spies the same two soldiers looking at him from the other side of the Berlin Wall. Anna suddenly comes back to the flat and tries to make breakfast. Mark continues to plead with her, but Anna doesn't respond. She's acting strangely and slashes herself on the neck using an electric knife. A shocked Mark brings her to the bathroom to patch her up, and she calms down. Mark then returns to the kitchen and cuts his arm with the same knife. Minutes later, a strangely calm Anna tells Mark that she's leaving. She then notices that he's cut himself as well, and tells him the knife doesn't hurt. Mark then watches her leave from the apartment window. As Anna goes about her business, a detective follows her. She notices and runs, but he manages to follow her into a derelict apartment building. The detective then informs Mark of her address. Minutes later, the detective visits her in her apartment and pretends to be the building manager checking the windows. Anna initially refuses to let him in, but he threatens to call the police. The man then inspects room by room and tells her he'll need to check the bathroom. Anna tries to stop him by offering him a glass of wine, but the detective refuses. Furious, Anna breaks the wine bottle. In the darkness, he sees a tentacled creature in the bathtub, and Anna slashes his throat with a broken wine bottle. Meanwhile, Helen visits Mark in his apartment to speak with Anna. He tries to explain that she doesn't live with them anymore and asks her to help him with Bob because someone else is at the door. He's surprised to see Heinrich, and the man demands to see Anna since he hasn't seen her in days. Heinrich shares that he also has a wife and child but loves Anna more. He then tries to bargain with him eccentrically, but Mark doesn't give in. Later that night, Helen tucks Bob into bed. When Mark comes in, she excuses herself to give them a private moment. Mark asks Bob if he likes Helen, and Bob says yes. Mark then shares that he doesn't like Heinrich and he doesn't want Anna to love him more than she loves them. After kissing him goodnight, Mark goes to Helen and thanks her. Helen informs him about Bob's performance in school and shares that during their rest period, Bob has nightmares and screams in his sleep. She then decides to stay with Mark for the night so that the two of them can watch over Bob. In bed, they lie clothless together and are about to make love when Bob screams. Mark rushes to his room and calms him down. As Mark is about to return to his room, he sees Helen fully clothed by the front door. She apologizes for trying to sleep with him and leaves. The next day, Mark drops Bob off at school and sees Helen. They awkwardly avoid talking to each other, making Helen sad. While walking, Mr. Zimmerman intercepts Mark and informs him that the detective who followed Anna is missing. He then asks if the detective has already found Anna's address, to which Mark replies yes and tells him the details. Mr. Zimmerman is surprised that Mark didn't visit Anna, but Mark explains that he has lost the drive to look for her. Mr. Zimmerman then solemnly informs him that the detective is his lover and tells Mark not to return to the office until he contacts him. Afterward, Mr. Zimmerman heads to Anna's apartment to search for his lover. He finds Anna scrubbing the floor and asks if she's seen the detective. However, Anna is acting strange, unnerving him. He goes into her bedroom and is horrified to discover the tentacled creature and his lover's dead body. He tries to shoot her, but Anna wildly attacks him, knocking his gun from his hands. She then steals the weapon and shoots him. Meanwhile, Mark comes across a reel by his door and realizes it's an old video of Anna teaching ballet. She's strict and relentless with her students, who leave in tears. Anna in the video then goes into an existential crisis, telling her audience that goodness is just a reflection of evil. Later, Anna returns to their apartment and Mark is horrified by her increasingly bizarre behavior. He wants to speak with her and invites her to sit on the couch. Erratic, Anna laments that she's messed everything up, and she feels alone and wounded. She then recounts how she violently lost the baby growing in her womb in the subway. Mark then comments that she looks uglier and he now finds her repulsive. He then asks her to return her wedding ring, which she obliges. Anna is about to leave, but Mark asks if she would still walk over him if he threw himself at her feet and yelped. She says that she will, but when he kneels in front of her, Anna ignores him and leaves. Hours later, Mark tries to call Heinrich, but Heinrich's mother answers. He shares Anna's new address and tells her to relay the information to Heinrich. Afterward, Mark picks Bob up from school, and Helen hands him a paper with her full name and address. Meanwhile, Heinrich visits Anna in her apartment, but is horrified to discover the creature in one of the rooms and dismembered body parts in her fridge. Anna then stabs him, but Heinrich escapes. A bloody Heinrich then phones Mark for help. After ending the call, Mark gleefully tells his son that Anna is looking for him. Mark then arrives at Anna's apartment and is horrified to find the mutilated body parts of Mr. Zimmerman and the detective in the fridge. He screams and takes a breather on the balcony where he thinks of an idea. He heads to the bar across the street where Heinrich is waiting for him. They meet in the restroom where Heinrich recounts his near-fatal experience with Anna, but Mark dismisses it as a joke and tells him he's drunk. Heinrich insists that she's sick and they need to help her. He suggests that Mark pay him for enduring Anna's stabbing. An unhinged Mark then feigns sickness so Heinrich will follow him to a stall. He then knocks Heinrich out and submerges his face into toilet water, drowning him. He stages the scene to make it look like Heinrich offed himself. Mark returns to Anna's apartment and sets it on fire, before escaping on Heinrich's motorcycle. Mark returns to his apartment and finds an injured Margie with her throat slashed by the elevator. He carries her back to the apartment, where she dies, and sets her down on the bathroom floor. He sees Anna in their bedroom and she helps him clean up, before they make love on the kitchen floor. Moments later, Anna explains she ended Margie's life because she saw the mutilated body parts and the creature. She then asks him for money because she deemed her apartment unsafe. Mark instructs her to wait in Margie's place while he takes care of everything. They spot Bob lingering by the doorway, and Anna tearfully kisses him before handing him over to Mark. Mark then takes Margie's body and places it in his car. He returns to his apartment, where he receives a phone call from Heinrich's worried mother, who asks why her son hasn't called her back. Mark reasons he forgot her number, but the woman explains she can sense her son is in trouble. She then tells him that she went to Anna's apartment earlier to find Heinrich, but since it was on fire, she went to the bar to search for him, where she found his corpse in the bathroom. She just wants to know where her son's soul is, so he reassures her that once he's able to locate his wife, he'll bring Anna to her so she can explain the whereabouts of Heinrich's soul. Afterward, Mark drives Bob to Helen's place and leaves him in her care. She then makes him promise to return for Bob, which he does. He then drives to Margie's place and is horrified to find Anna making love to the creature. Mark dejectedly leaves her and the half-formed creature be. Later that day, Mark meets with Heinrich's mother and tells her he's found Anna. She lets him inside the flat and deduces Mark couldn't locate her son's soul. The woman then tells him that she forced herself to like his son's first family and Anna, as they both loved him. She then decides to take her own life by ingesting a bunch of pills. She goes to lie down and Mark stays with her until she passes. The following day, Mark contemplates by the bridge and notices a group of soldiers spying on him from across the Berlin Wall. Suddenly, his former associate appears and pressures him to return, but Mark refuses and leaves. Mark drives back to Margie's house but finds it surrounded by the police and his former associates. He hails a cab and orders the taxi driver at gunpoint to crash the vehicle onto the police cars. With no choice, the man does what he is ordered to do. As the cab crashes into the police cars, Mark leaps out and begins shooting at them, leaving one dead. He then runs to the house to get his car. As he's driving away, he crashes his car into the police vehicle, which explodes on impact. Afterward, an unhinged Mark flees the scene using Heinrich's motorcycle. Driving at high speed, he loses control of the bike and it skids, throwing him off. Injured, he flees inside one of the buildings along the harbor. Once inside, he tries to climb up the stairs where he spots Anna and a man down below. Anna catches up to him and tells him the creature is complete. The creature reveals itself to him, and Mark is shocked as he is face to face with his doppelganger. When Mark is about to shoot him, they're ambushed by the police below, who rains bullets at them. A bloody and injured Anna drags herself to Mark and kisses him. Mark's doppelganger then sinisterly smiles at a bloody Mark and makes his way to the top of the stairs, where he finds a perplexed woman shocked by the events below. She then assists him in escaping through the roof. The police and former associate then climb up the stairs to investigate the scene. Sometime later, Bob is eating breakfast at Helen's flat. The doorbell rings and Bob implores Helen not to open it. However, Helen insists, despite Bob begging her not to. He then runs upstairs and into the bathroom, submerging himself face down in the bathtub. At the door, Helen becomes frightened by the sound of sirens, planes, and explosions outside. She sees the doppelganger silhouette through the frosted glass door, turns her back to him, and stares wide-eyed at the situation unfolding.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.